Hello, welcome to the Rambling Ram. I am Laura Lee Lotto, and this is part of Ram and Goat Astrology. So this week it's just me, and I wanted to ramble a little bit about Saturn. Saturn is a planet that I find a lot of people are fearful of, and I want to kind of give a new perspective on that because Saturn has been such a great teacher in my life and such a great energy for me to continue to look towards and really examine, because this is where we mature, and this is where we really need to take our time and grow up and realize what we have to mature into. So where he is in your chart via the sign will tell you kind of the lessons you've got to learn with Saturn, and then the house that Saturn is in is going to show you where that's going to show up. How's that going to show up for you? Is it going to show up with, for me, fifth house with children and creativity and fun and hobbies? Or is it going to show up in your second house where there's foundational needs with money and housing and food and core relationships? So Saturn has been interesting for me, not only as a parent when it's in the fifth house with dealing with children and fun and play, and kind of like, I think of that as like the parenting the older kids, right? The fourth house is kind of like family and putting down roots and home. But the fifth house to me feels like parenting. Like you're in it. This is the teen years. This is like when we're really working on kind of trying to make them grow up into then being of service, which would be the next house, number 6. So this is kind of the growth in my mind of like how the houses work. And so going from the 5th into the 6th is like going from teenage years into adulthood. So we get to kind of grow up, and then how getting a job, how can we be of service on a daily basis, right? So Saturn has been in Pisces for a while, and he is about to station direct, which means he's stopping, going the retrograde motion, standing still for a moment, and then turning around and going forward. Now this energy helps us to really take our obligations seriously and take care of our obligations. Really take these goals that we have and these work obligations and bring them down to a manageable task, right? Can we really move forward with this? Can we really take action steps on this in a mature manner? So Saturn going direct is going to help us kind of grow up a little bit. He's been going retrograde, and as he's been going retrograde, we get to take that time to really evaluate and look at the things that we were working on, and we get to evaluate if that's where we still want to put our time and energy and attention. Is that the mature thing to do? Or do we maybe need to eliminate some things in our life? Saturn is all about eliminating. Ooh, that doesn't work. Boom, let's get rid of it. That doesn't work. Let's get rid of it. Well, right now in the sky, Saturn is in Pisces. And this is not a comfortable position for Saturn, because Pisces really is about all of the intangible things. All of the woo, all of the dreams. Where does art come from? Where does music come from? How does dance happen? That's all Pisces realm. How do dreams happen? How does spiritual stuff or psychic abilities happen? All Pisces realm. Saturn is all about building the bridge, building the foundation, creating a solid, healthy foundation so we can make a skyscraper, so we can make a solid bridge for cars and heavy machinery to go across. Saturn is really very tangible and tangibly based, right? So when we don't have tangibility and we have to merge it with tangibility, how do we do that? What does that look like? So Saturn has been helping us to really take kind of the veil away from Pisces a little bit and help us to be more practical and more pragmatic about the Piscean realm. And so we get to maybe be a little bit more mature about our creativity. We get to be a little bit more hardworking and take our time to create a structure and a foundation around our spirituality, around our beliefs, around our intuitive work, however we do our art, however we are here to be compassionate and of service. Saturn is helping us to build the foundation or the structure in which to then do those things or experience those experiences. It's a little bit challenging, though, to merge that. So we do have to become a lot more aware of the rules and the limitations, and we have to recognize what Pisces is wanting us to do. Think about Pisces and the sign of it. It's two fish kind of swimming in opposite directions. So you can't jump in the pond and chase after both fish. You have to sit on the edge of the pond and observe the fish. It's a really important distinguishable thing in your head. Another way I like to look at this is when I'm meditating. So I like to think of Pisces like this and meditation, which they go hand in hand. So when I'm meditating, I like to think of it as watching a parade. If you ever attended a parade, you sit on the end of the edge of the road and sit on the curb, and then parades have floats that go by slowly, and bands that go by march past you. And if we are doing our mature version of Pisces, we are sitting on the edge of the parade edge, right? Not in the parade, but we're on the edge, and we're watching each float and each band and each thing go past us. We're observing. We are aware, but we're not like involved. Every once in a while, candy flies out of the sky at you, and that's kind of Piscean too, right? Every once in a while, we get this energy that just hits us, and we have to suddenly do this or go this way or listen to what Spirit said. So I like to think of the candy flying off the parade floats as kind of like Spirit's messages to us, right? So one of the things we have to do is not chase each float. Oh, I like that one. I'm going to go after that. No, 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 no. We still sit and observe and watch the rest of the parade. We do not jump into the parade. Very Pisces energy, very Saturn energy. Sit on the edge, follow the rules, but then observe very awesomely and really just gain ideas and gain knowledge that then you can take later to go and do something with. So Saturn's going to turn direct pretty soon here. When's that coming up? That is coming up on November 15th. So November 15th, Saturn will turn direct. He's been retrograde since June 29th. And the degrees is 19 degrees Pisces is when he went retrograde. And now at 12 degrees, he'll turn around and go back forward. So if you have anything between 12 and 19, there we go, 12 and 19 degrees Pisces, you have been feeling this. Saturn went over the top. He turned around, went back over the top. Now he's going to turn around, go back over the top. If you have anything from 12 to 19 degrees Virgo, you are feeling this. And we also have to look at the other two energies in the zodiac. So what's square to Pisces and Virgo, right? So checking into that. So we've got Sagittarius and Gemini. So these are the signs that are really affected by Saturn's movements, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So what do we have to learn from this? What are we doing with this energy? Well, number one, Saturn, this transit through Pisces has really been encouraging us to break down old, rigid boundaries, specifically around our emotional stuff, our spiritual stuff, our artistry. And we really need to dive into these long-held beliefs, these traditional beliefs that don't serve us anymore, aren't working for us. They're not healthy for us. I love to think of Pisces as health, the sign of health, along with its buddy Virgo on the other end. So Virgo is the sign of purity and virginity and quality and health and being of service, right? So if Virgo is like 3D health, right, and 3D service, Pisces would be 5D health, 5D service. This is another realm, another level, another dimension of health and wellness and being of service. So if Saturn is going through there, every time Saturn's in this area or in an area of the chart, he causes these energetic restrictions and these energetic limitations. And the reason that these are happening is so that we can really focus on what's important. So if Saturn was going through your 7th house of partnership or business or marriage, you may have had a loss in that department where maybe you were dating somebody and now you broke up, or maybe you're going through a separation and need to do therapy or something like that, right? There's usually some type of restriction wherever Saturn is. And as he moves through the sign of Pisces, he's going to restrict things from us so that we can really, really focus on the important things. So if you're finding that things are being removed from your life, I encourage you to take a deep breath and use the space that's been created by the removal and go inside yourself. That's really what needs to happen with this energy, is going inside yourself, because that's where we really access Piscean energy. It comes from being quiet with yourself. When you're quiet with yourself, magic happens. That's when music comes flowing out of us and people turn into composers. That's when artists paint or do beads or sculpt marble. I don't care what kind of art, right? But when we're quiet with ourselves, when we sit and contemplate and we just are quiet and listening, that's when ideas come. That's when thoughts can just flow freely. So if things have been removed from your life, take heed that this is probably for your best interest, so that you can now have time to go internal. Do some journaling, do some meditation, bring up old stories that you haven't addressed for a while and address them. I actually was just telling my daughter yesterday, we were driving home from a day from shopping, getting groceries and all kinds of stuff, and we were talking about my older brother and a situation we had when he was 16 and he got in a pretty bad accident and had a head injury. And I was telling her the story because I was exactly her age when I had to dial 911 and go through all of this. And it was quite a traumatic situation in our life. And I realized that my family doesn't really talk about it. And I haven't really talked about it. And while I was talking to her and telling her this, I cried quite a bit. And it felt really great to release that, but I didn't have any idea I needed to release that. And I allowed it to move through me, and it did, and I was fine. But that's kind of the thing that needs to happen when Saturn is going through Pisces and removes certain things from your life, whether it's a person or whether it's a hobby or whether you have to change homes and now you're not as social as you were, whatever the situation is. The area of life is actually how that's going to show up. So if it's in your second house, you may actually lose your housing, right? If it's in your 11th house, maybe your community isn't growing as much and you're feeling a little bit more isolated. If it's in your 5th house, maybe you're not having as much fun anymore and you're struggling to create. So there's a lot of reasons why things get removed from us for our best interest. Our job is to go internal and allow the quietness and the space. That doesn't mean scroll on Facebook. That doesn't mean go watch TikTok videos and check out, because that's not the same thing as being quiet with yourself or doing journaling and exploring a journal prompt, right? I have the elemental emotions workbook that I created is a journal prompt workbook to help you explore your emotions in the way that your moon element needs you to, whether it's an air moon or an earth or water or fire. So there's all kinds of ways to do Piscean things, but you definitely need to take the time to explore your inner world and thus the spiritual realm, however that looks for you, whether that's through prayer or mantras or affirmations. But it's really emotional time. Pisces is very emotional. It's very feeling. And we need to be mature about those emotions. We can't throw them on other people. We can't be blaming people. We need to take responsibility for our emotions. That was very much Piscean energy with Saturn there. Responsibility is Saturn. Pisces is emotion and feeling and compassion. So one of the things we have to do as well is have that spiritual maturity and discipline. It's so easy to check out into our phones now. So easy. We have TikTok, we have Reddit, we have all of the things at our fingertips immediately. And one of the things I was struggling with this year is my two of my children are Pisces rising this year for their solar return. And very much are checking out into their phones. And I had to take the phone for a while, and we needed to have a hiatus because they were using it so much to check out. And once I removed that, suddenly their artistry showed up. Suddenly they're painting again. Suddenly they're reading again. They certainly knew how to fill the time. It's just that those phones are so easy to just suck our brains away. And Pisces wants to check out sometimes. One of the fish wants to check out, like go to the casino or go to the brothel or go to the Netflix or whatever. We just want to check out and not pay attention to what's really happening in our life. The other fish of Pisces wants to really go in and do the work. That gets a little obsessive then. So we got to have some moderation with both of these fish. Again, we can't chase them. We have to sit on the edge of the pond and observe. Oh, that one's doing that. The other one over here is doing that. Okay, and we have to observe, sit in quiet, mature space and take time. Very Saturn energy. This isn't necessarily fun. This isn't necessarily easy. I don't get excited about doing this stuff. This is certainly not my realm of happiness. It really isn't. But it's something we definitely need to do. Now, my Mercury is in Pisces natally, and it's in the 11th house. So this is something that's going to come over the top of my mind around 25 degrees. And wherever Saturn is, he, again, causes this like restrictions and limitations and forces you to kind of work hard on things. So I'm really curious to see how this shows up for me. And as I go through this transit, to see what mature things I'm going to have to really work on with my brain and the way I do my spirituality. Maybe I'll really need to dial up the meditation, right? Right now, I actually am doing piano lessons. I signed up for piano lessons every other week. And then I'm working on doing them daily here. Sometimes I get it daily, sometimes I don't. We're getting there. But piano is very Piscean energy, and it is something that I'm working on being more disciplined about. So I have a feeling it'll show up in ways like that where I'll really need to do more meditation. I have 2 toddlers and 3 teens, as many of you know. I'm struggling with that. I really am. I'm struggling pretty hard with that. This is also happening opposite my Virgo, right? Because everybody's got Pisces and Virgo opposites. So my Virgo is in the 4th house of parenting and family. And that is, I'm feeling that Saturn opposition to my 4th house. So we have to confront that escapism that shows up. And Pisces rules that realm of dreams and illusions. And Saturn here confronts those tendencies towards escapism. So I had to be the Saturn disciplinarian with my child, my 5th house Saturn, discipline when it comes to fun and children. I actually have no problem disciplining children. And if you find any of your friends or any people in your life have Saturn in the 5th house, these are the people to like discipline your kids. If you are like, I just can't, I'm gonna go call Aunt Laura. You want me to call her? No? Okay. Right? Like these are the people who really don't mind disciplining. It's a thing. So we have to recognize that escapism is big, and I had to take my Saturn maturity with my kids, and I had to be really mature with my kid who was really checking out and escaping, and I had to remove that item that was the tempting item because she really was becoming quite addicted and avoiding her life. So fantasy, addiction, avoidance, it's exactly where she was living. And her solar return has Pisces rising, and then Neptune is the first planet. Her Saturn for the year, for her assignment, was hidden in the 12th house. So one of the things she really needed to be working on, and it has been a little bit, but really needed to be working on for assignment this year, was to work on her discipline around meditation and art and sleep and dreamland and illusion. And she's been doing it in her own unique way. But it has been frustrating because that planet of maturity and discipline has been in her unconscious realm. So it was like a double whammy with it being in Pisces and in the 12th house for this 12-year-old this year, because addiction and fantasy and avoidance were really, really prime for her, like really ripe for the picking when it comes to the assignment she got this year. Now, this isn't her natal planets, but I definitely saw the challenges with this particular placement. So she is working on leaning into the kind of higher vibration of Pisces now that we removed kind of the addictions that she was struggling with the phone. So confronting escapism, something for all of us to take a look at. Where are you escaping? Where are you escaping? Where's your Pisces right now? Or where is Pisces in your chart? And where is Saturn sitting for you right now? Those questions will help you understand that and help you get a better handle of what things you need to work on and what areas you might be escaping, right? Big, big stuff to explore. Journal about that. We also have to deal with healing through compassion. So Pisces' influence here has this big compassion. Like Cancer is compassionate. Scorpio can be really intensely compassionate. Pisces is big compassionate. It's whole world compassionate, right? Really, really understanding that Saturn here is asking us to show more compassion towards ourselves and towards others. We want to take the time to really lean into that collective healing and the collective empathy. Saturn's trek through Pisces is helping us to wake up. It's helping people, humans on planet Earth, to wake up to our existence in other realms, in other planets. We are having tons of alien encounters. We have whole streaming services that have 25 seasons of stories after stories after stories, like Gaia TV that has shows on there that have just tons of UFOs and unidentified everythings and just tons of stories about that. And it's coming out more and more and more. We're waking up, we're being mature, we're leaning into our understanding that there's more out there. And we're being more compassionate towards these ideas and these things and these people. And we can take this energy of healing and we can really apply it to healing old wounds. And we can help others heal old wounds. And this is just going to keep fostering this collective, supportive environment. And the collective is part of Pisces realm, right? I always like to think of the zodiac as like growth on top of growth on top of growth. We start with Aries, which is the youngest, most innocent, like little kid. And then we go to Taurus and we grow up a little bit more. Now we have some stability. And then we go to Gemini. Now we have more understanding. Then we go to Cancer. Now we've got compassion. Then we go to Leo. We've got more courage. And then from Leo, we go into Virgo and we've got some analytical and we've got some observation and discernment. And it just keeps going all the way around. And with Aquarius, it's very humanitarian, very group oriented. Well, Pisces takes that to another level. It's like the more mature version of Aquarius. It's unique. It's all of the zodiac combined. It's really, really wonderful. So Saturn's asking us to really recognize that. Recognize our role in the collective. As if we are a cell in the human body doing our cellular job for that whole unit. We are each a cell on Mother Earth doing a specific job for the collective on Mother Earth. And your job is to live in your chart. That's your job. It's to play your unique musical signature, your unique birth chart song. To do you, authentically, honestly, with the best intentions and the highest vibration. That's your job. And that's really something that's so easy to say, not necessarily so easy to do, because of the baggage we have and the guilt we carry and the shame that we carry around and all of the shoulds and woulds and coulds, all of it, right? The human experience part of that is quite heavy and it has quite the downward pull. So we have to have compassion for ourselves as well. And that deeper level of compassion for ourselves creates a new frequency within us. And the deeper love we have for ourselves and for our human experience and for this crazy journey we're taking here in Earth School, the more love and the more compassion we have for ourselves, the more we vibrate bigger and healthier and at our true tone. And then that spreads and it merges with that person who's doing the same work on themselves. And then it goes to that person. And now we're all vibrating as if we are in an orchestra. and the orchestra is now all vibrating in the same frequency, in the same harmony, on the same key. And because we're all playing our own unique part, the flute part is not the same as the trombone. It shouldn't be. That would be dumb. If the flute plays the flute and the trombone plays the trombone, we're going to have a beautiful song. But if the flute tries to play trombone, it's not going to work. Right? Same thing with the timpani trying to play the saxophone part. It won't work, right? You've got to play your unique sheet music, and don't worry if that person over there is resting. They probably have 25 rests. They're waiting. They're counting. 3, 2, 3, 4, 4. Any musicians here listening, right? Like, you got to sit there and count and wait. And I think that's the beauty of this whole earthly experience, is knowing that we are here to experience the density and then somehow find flow through and with that density. And we have through music. And astrology is really just a verbal interpretation of the frequencies of the music. We could transpose all of the notes, all of the planets into a certain, instrument, right? Maybe Mercury is the clarinet, and maybe Mars is the saxophone, and maybe Venus is the flute. And we could do that. We could write parts for each of them. And if your Venus is the flute and it is in Aquarius, the music's going to sound like this. Right? It's going to be all over. But if your Venus flute is in, say, Scorpio, it's going to have a different flavor. Maybe you need a bass flute. Maybe you need a different kind of flute, right? So there's all kinds of cool analogies I could say, but the bottom line is Saturn going through Pisces is the end of a 30-year cycle. 29 and a half. And then we start all over again with Aries. And we start all over again with Aries so that we can then learn again, boom, something new. We get to mature. We get to grow up. And frankly, I've really enjoyed growing up. And with my Saturn being in the 5th house, I kind of have the enviable lesson of learning how to grow up and play. And I love that. I love that that's like my task in life. I have to learn to grow up and play. And we just put a disc golf course on our land, and I literally painted pallets all afternoon for T-box 7 this way. Like, that's my job right now. I think that's play. That's fun. And now my husband and my son are in a play, and we're leaving to go see their play in a little bit. So we're learning to play, and I'm learning with my kids. And I think that's what we're all going to learn when Saturn moves into Aries. It's a new play cycle. So we get to have some compassion and healing for the letting go of the old, right? Saturn helps us to restrict and let go. We let go of the old that isn't serving us, so that with this new cycle of Aries coming up in about 1.5 years, we can start again and learn to play. So think of this spiral, right? This Kundalini spiral that just keeps going around and around. Now this is a new 30-year cycle. Boom. And we are going to be here at 12 degrees Pisces. So we've already hit this with 12 degrees Pisces with Saturn, and now we're going to start going forward again. And he's going to trek all the way through Pisces and get out of there. And we have a lot of lessons still to learn. And this is all interesting, but let's add another layer. And I'm going to leave you with this layer so that you can think on this for a little bit. So if you think about Saturn as the government, and you think about our job is to release the disillusions, right? To really confront the lies and the illusion. That's something to think about. Just going to leave you with that. Not going any further, right? Think about if we want to dive into what do we need to really have discernment on and release that isn't serving us, so that when we start again with Aries, we can start something new. Something to think about, especially when you add that layer of the government on, right? I love learning about Saturn and reading about Saturn and experiencing Saturn and then seeing it in my children and seeing what happens when one of the children doesn't really have conscious access to Saturn, especially when she's growing up and I kind of need her to, right? So many different life lessons in there, and it's just fun to see it all. I hope this was helpful for you today. I so enjoyed rambling with you for about a half hour here. If you are interested in getting a reading with me and Helena, we would love to do that with you. Otherwise, you can join our Patreon account. We are going to be adding more stuff. We've been working on that for a while now. I'm really excited to see that grow, where you get deeper content and more experiences with us personally. So you can go do that, or support us with buying us a tea or coffee financially. That helps the show. So thank you so much. I'm Laura Lee from Ram and Goat Astrology, and you've been listening to The Rambling Ram. Take care.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Ram and Goat Astrology. You can support the show by buying us a coffee or a tea. Link in the show notes. Your financial support means the world to us. Join us next time.